Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting, innovating, and amazing Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, the one, the only master propaganda hero, like defender of the fatherland, off here to a 2v2 on Dreux Scout. In the east, it is Scotch and Crossfire, fighting here for the German army, Deutschland. Here with the Panzerdivision with mechanized assault, Jaeger armor, Blitzkrieg. Elite Armored, Overwatch and Breakthrough. In the west, it is Deep Dark Fantasy and Ruby, fighting for the Allies with a combined task force here made up of elements of the 2nd Armored Division, backed up by the Guards Armored. We got Airborne, we got Mobile Assault here, with Pathfinders, 50 cals, Paratroopers, Airdrop, Anti-Tank Guns, P-47s, Mortar Teams, Royal Sappers, Infiltration Commandos, Vehicle Crew Repairs, and the Land Mattress. And as always, a big hearty thanks to my Patreon supporters, heroes, and champions and the Propagandacast who make it possible. Big thanks to all those in supporting the war effort. Other people can join ranks by Patreon, or they can donate by PayPal. Links in the description. And finally, commenting, liking, sharing, subscribing is another great way to, help out. So, in the south, we got Scotch here versus Ruby. In the north, it is Deep Dark Fantasy versus Crossfire. We got Sandbags here behind this set of wooden crates here. Section with tank trap. Oh, yes, with tank traps. In the center, we got section with Student Puny here. Immediately drops Ludwig. Ludwig ends up being the first casualty of this battle. We got Sappers out here for Ruby as well, then on top of the top two sections, and the recovery sappers in the university carrier there. In the center, machine holding up here. Further south, parties advancing for Deutschland. We got plenty of Pathfinders here for Deep Dark Fantasy, a total of 3 of them. Gonna hit Crossfire there pretty hard with those Pathfinders. More grenadiers out there for Scotch and for Deutschland. Sectioning up to center swiftly, laying down some sandbags, improving fortifications to assist the hunting assault. And there you go. Stumpy and immediately right here surrounded a lot of Pathfinders. We've got beacons being thrown down there as they go along here. Or we got 2 beacons out there for Deep Dark Fantasy. Going to swing a bit back here. Up north, the American assault continues to swing up behind Crossfire, threatening to wipe his units now if he's not careful and treats too late due to the Pathfinders. We've got the universal carrier from Ruby moving into assist here, hitting Crossfire really hard like a sledgehammer. Putting Crossfire here and the 3rd Panzergrenadier Company in a really tough spot, and he will have to think fall back. He got filtering up here for Crossfire. In the south here, Scotch remains hesitant to join in, perhaps looking to maybe make progress in the south, leaving Crossfire for now at least to be a bit of a punching bag against the Allies. We'll have to see what exactly is going. We got a 3rd Grenadier squad there. We got more filters out here for Crossfire. No immediate choices here. Fast armored car here by Elite Armor, so might be something that he's planning here. And we got a 4th Pathfinder squad here from Deep Dark Fantasy going really hard on those Pathfinders. He really wants to find that path, doesn't he? Ha 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 ha. Only the finest of jokes here on the Propagandacast. Trot on the way to the Crossfire. Die schwere Wehrmachtschlepper. Universal carrier there with the Vickers K. Fun fact, the British also had their own Pathfinders for their own airborne units. Fun fact. Medics there for Ruby. Fairly light early game then in terms of infantry. Makes you wonder what they're scheming there. Up north there, lone full squad being sent forward here. Right into the Pathfinders. Friedrich drops it pretty quickly there. And I imagine Jürgen here, there we go, follows in. Otto may in fact be the next target here. In the face of so many Pathfinders here. That said, of course, a fast light vehicle would be powerful because they have no snares. It's like you can get pretty aggressive as these Pathfinders with some vehicle. There you go. Hitting back hard here with a lot of folks with Dion Pioneers backing up here. Crossfire's men here going straight for those Pathfinders. We've got more Pathfinders arriving here. Still going hard in here. Universal being rushed in. No, not quite. In fact, you see there, Scotch made to block this. Blind hand gun out on the Pathfinders here. Sappers, they're rushing forward, getting folks down here, machine and they're pointing at the wrong type, but there we go. Pathfinders push back, at least most of them. But we got the flank here for Scotch now in a bit of a sticky spot here. Tech by way for you know who. Oh, Ruby. We got a bit of smoke deployed here, by the way, by the recovery sappers. Neat. Tech already up there for Scotch, like to make a nice company happening. No commanders yet for the Germans, but schwere Wehrmachtschlepper sitting up here for battle headquarters for Crossfire. Grab the carve point, grab the fuel point, could lay down some mines of barbed wire here. Some of the beacons are being dealt with by the looks of it. Yup. Some fierce action in the early game between the Allies and the Germans. Vickers machine gun team on the way here for Ruby and the British. Machine gun position a bit further south to the Grenadiers under Scotch command here and the 7th Panzer Grenadier Company switch southwards. Bunker up there for Scotch, further up north here. Lots of sandbags, and there you go. Barbed wire and the tank traps. Could also lay down a mine, a bit of a Deutschland surprise, as they say. In the south here, point secured. Truck almost down there for Crossfire. So that's a pretty fast Schwerpunted quarters, meaning he's likely going to be focusing on orbital dart and heavy strategy. Interesting enough, none of his commanders really further utilize that. There's say no infiltration. Admittedly, there's not really a lot otherwise to do with orbital commander wise. Maybe breakthrough Sturm Officer. That'd be a pretty potent combo, I think. But anyways, bunker up there for Scotch. Truck there on the move here for him. Machine gun gunners on the center, expecting the Allies to make no push on the fuel point there. And looks like so far Ruby is in fact not doing that, kind of making Scotch's gambit here work out fairly well. They're basically just up against the ghost German army in the south there. There's clearly a lot of German army troops there in Ruby's mind existing there, so they're just not bothering, which is great for Scotch. Armour on the way there for Scotch. And this is why reconnaissance and probing is important. So you actually know you're dealing with Germans and not a ghost army. It's 10 feet tall Germans over there with laser guns. What's a laser? I don't know, but it sounds impressive. Section ready, but the Germans, as they concentrate positions up there up north, they'll be deep dark fans with another Pathfinder force there swinging hard. And there we go. The ghost army has been dispelled, and Ruby makes a push for that southern fuel point here. Armour car, the Russian deal with that. Grenadiers backing up as well here. In the center, Vickers pushing back the Grenadiers here. Pioneers in a bit of a top spot versus the Vickers. Soon enough, yes indeed. Up north here, the Pathfinder force continues to slam away there against Crossfire. The truck is ready to set up any time now, but again, the Fett is actually fairly close to it, so he may not have time to set it up. Southern fuel point then ready to neutral armor car Grenadiers there. 6-pounder gun punching through the armored car's hull right away there. Rough stuff there for the right. Truck falling a bit back here, then moving forwards again. Clearly, Crossfire wants it up to cover the carve point, but at the same time, he also doesn't want to lose it, because that would obviously put him and Scotch by extension in a bad spot. But it definitely does look very strong, like he's planning an orbital dart rush, which is certainly an interesting strategy to pull off. Normally, particularly versus Pathfinders and Brits, the orbital command best strategy would be to rely a lot on Jaegers, but Crossfire, he is thinking orbital dart. So that's an interesting strategic choice there, which you, again, very rarely see, but I don't think I'm opposed to it. Sending big system with the Sturmpuni on the south here. Ruby getting ready for another assault here against German positions. Meanwhile, Scotch moving to support the centre back, looking once more flank up into Deep Dark Fantasy's flank here. Meanwhile, the Pathfinder force moving up here now, led by Captain Jones. South here, Germans pushed off here if they were there at all. In fact, heading southwards to this defence position. We've got 4 Grenadiers out here for Scotch, no Panzer Grenadier. And there you go, Crossfire with that orbital dart on the move there now. First authorised, a bit surprised at that. It's not like he's going to get out any tanks soon, but he probably wants to be ready to defend the carve point, I guess, first. Armoured coming northward, so yeah, they're kind of leaving Ruby to sort of simmer in the south, because Ruby definitely seems a little less aggressive. So they're basically taking advantage of this to go after Deep Dark Fantasy, which is interesting. Ruby there might also be planning something, but the elite troops in this case, the commandos. So interesting strategies from both, I suppose, Ruby and Crossfire in that sense. Orbital squad almost done for Crossfire, filtering 14 to the rear echelons. We got Pathfinder to assist here, and there you go, 5th car there for Deep Dark Fantasy. Of course, need to be careful, they're getting focused down by a lot of Pathfinders again. That is a total of 4 of them. Orbital squad ready here, adding the LMD 34 in the south here. Ruby, though, is in the offense, looking to hit Scotch in the south here, but Scotch at the centre here, catching some of Ruby's elements, but still Ruby there, making half the Scotch house easily swing up into Deep Dark Fantasy's exposed underbelly. In the south there, the forces there are wildly exposed to fortress retreat here. Closing on that 3rd command point, got manpower floating. It definitely does feel like a commando's sort of strategy here from Ruby. Grenades being rushed southwards now to help deal with the British onrush towards the fuel point there. Light machine guns blazing away at the Englishmen. Can now call in those commandos, so we'll be interested to see if that is what Ruby's planning, or if they're just flooding manpower for no particular reason then. North here, the fighting continues. You can see the Pathfinder being pushed back. Got the opposite, they're a bit bled out. They need to retreat. We also got a lot of beacons here from Deep Dark Fantasy. A lot of them. South here, sappers routed, just flooding manpower, so I'm guessing not a commando heavy strike. Oh, there we go, we do get some commandos now. We should at least go for another one then. Or perhaps they're planning something else. They're planning to tech up. Okay, so they're planning fairly fast medium armor, which makes sense for the British, I suppose. Again, they're probably one of the factors the fastest to get up medium armor. Tossen's commanders, I can definitely see that giving the Germans a bit of a case of the Gribblies. So they're going up, reinforcing, Sten guns specifically silenced at the ready. Note that while the game depicts them as fully automatic, they weren't actually. The guns couldn't handle the rate of fire. They basically would heat and burn out the silencers. So they were actually specifically set at the workshops making them to only be semi-automatic. Fun fact about those. Another fun fact is the Germans loved them, specifically Otto Skorzeny, who was like, you know, the SS Spec Ops guy there. So they actually used captured examples for their own special operations units. So little fun fact there. We got Fulker's Orbison here as the Pathfinders here, a swath of them. Fifth cavalry being flanked here. We got Orbison up north here. So that's 2 Orbison squads so far here for Crossfire. Rearson's wiped. And I would not be surprised if we actually end up seeing like a third from him here. I mean, this kind of strategy feels like you really just are going to commit heavily to them. You got Tech there for Scotch. We'll have 2 courses going to go for the spawn walk. Oh, he's actually going straight for tier 4 even. Alright. Still no commander though for Scotch off of Crossfire here so far. Pathfinder's close being wiped out here by some of the German troops. And the south here, Ruby with another all British assault here, assailing the German positions. Going to do what they can with the LMD-42. And we got a munitions cache, which is an interesting choice there from Scott, because he hasn't picked a commander yet. Could of course this is his teammate, but if you sort of look at his commanders, like, which are the most munitions intensive? Would actually be Blitzkrieg, so this could be like an indicator that Scotch is planning to go for Blitzkrieg. Though it could also be mechanized assault stuff like the light artillery barrage, I suppose, or even Jaeger armor. It's a bit of an odd one there, actually. We got the heavy Panther up here for Scotch. North MU-42 there betching to already. North here fighting for the northern point continuously between the Allies and the Germans. The Germans have actually, like, you know, managed to keep the victory points under their control fairly well so far. Major out there for Deep Dark Fancy, not too far from any armor. Cut off on being hit, then once more disrupting the German fuel flow. Good push there by Ruby. Troop reinforcing healing there. Armor currently repairs, but the heavy Panther Corps is almost done. As for Crossfire, is closing in on the Panther 4 here. Allies are definitely in the offense. Could consider some mines around here if they had the munitions. Meanwhile, Deep Dark Fantasy has plenty of munitions, but isn't really utilising it. Like, no weapon racks or grenades. Admittedly, the Pathfinders don't have access to grenades. They'd have to go for weapon racks to, like, upgrade those. But that said, 4 Pathfinder squads with Brownings is certainly going to be a nightmare for German infantry. Straight into a mine here. Thumbs up to that. There's 2 German troops dead, and we do in fact get here Blitzkrieg for Scotch. Straight into every reconnaissance. Getting a good deal there with the Allies up to. Thumbs up to Scotch. Assist to and his team, of course, with that. So, it is indeed Blitzkrieg here from Scotch. North here, though, we got Crossfire, his own little infantry place. The Orbison there sweeping right around the northern corner here of Deep Dark Fan's position, routing the Major and the 5th Cavalry pretty violent east. In the south, looks like Scotch is going to recapture the fuel point. Could also be planning to flank southwards. And there you go. First tank is out. It is the Centaur anti-aircraft tank here for Ruby here. As for Scotch, we got the... Not for Scotch, I mean, for Deep Dark Fan. For some reason, Scott, and then my mind just went, yeah, Scotch. Obviously, that makes total sense. Thanks, brain. But no, it is Deep Dark Fancy with a Scotch on the way, a Scot on the way there, not the Scotch. I hate that. Anyways, no Panther 4 there. He's not yet. Could be planning a Panther, I suppose. University quickly diving out of the way of the Pack 40. Captain Nivers, the Gundee is there. Intense fighting here as the Americans want trying to break through. Interesting, not really seeing a lot of deeper movement up north here, up to sort of swing around the Germans. In the southeast, Centaur heading here. Scotch's southern flank exposed. We've got the command rolling forward here with the Southern Sten guns. Morton placement up here for Ruby as well. Second Pack 40 here for Scotch. So clearly planning on something bigly. The question is, will it be a Sturmpanzer or a Panther? Considering double packs, definitely thinking a Sturmpanzer. Because I think with a single pack, you might be able to hold up for a Panther here, but with a Sturmpanzer, they're definitely going to need 2 packs to back it up. Against armor, though, they are helped with the fact that Ruby went for a Centaur first and not, say, a Cromwell. But that said, the Centaur's still going to give them a hard time, but it does mean they do go for Sturmpanzer. Scotch is not going to be, like, as hard punished for that. In the south, the Vickers is the armored car, but that is not a good engagement. Got the Centaur here as the advancing Obersoldaten. Tang through them there. And ripping apart Crossfire's men there without any mercy shown. Southie, armored car knocked out. We got the 6-pounder gun, I think, wiped out somewhere as well. Yes, indeed. Quite a few blows there. 2 Ruby, excellent kills here for Scotch, and the 7th Panzer Grenadier Company. North here, Crossfire holding back, and he's probably the only player now without a commander. We're also slowly approaching the 20-minute mark, and Crossfire continues to not have made any picks there at all, which is definitely a bit concerning in some regards. Panther for Norfolk, so he did go for the Panther for no Panther stall here for Crossfire. Thumbs up. Adding the Pinnacle machine gun, so possibly not elite armor there. Or it could still be elite armor, honestly. But you kind of figured go for it then for the Panther commander. Scott, they're having trouble with the Panther 4 here. Panther 4 there down to half health as the M1 of course immediately inflicts a lot of damage there thanks to its high rate of fire and decent penetration. Not amazing, but you know, combined with that high rate of fire, it will typically do the job. Deep Dark Fancy commits another Scott, going to really start hammering away at their German infantry with some self-propelled artillery here. That could definitely leave some scars there on the German forces. Some deep scars. In the south here, Baker's now carrying the southern fuel point here, of course in German service, based off the Maxim machine gun, which the Germans actually did operate a few examples of their own Maxim from World War I. Though mostly for, you know, very, very real-line units. But little fun fact there. North Hick Captain rushing in. Second Scott almost done there for Deep Dark Fantasy. Panther 4 being repaired. Another push here from Crossfire. Still no commander. And Scotchy can go for the Storm Punch. In fact, could have done that some time ago, perhaps. Might be he's actually playing a Pantherman. We also got a second Morton place up here for Ruby. Going hard on that British stack of artillery. That's definitely going to be, I think, a fairly annoying thing to go up against. We also got the Orbison backing up here, making it very difficult for the anti-tank spotters. You can see they take to deal with the Panther 4 due to the Orbison's very high DPS and the fact that anti-tankers do take more damage. Effectively there, so decent push, and then though the Pathfinders end up setting the anti-tank gun here and the other possibly destroyed here. Really close call though for Deep Dark Fancy. A really close call. Scott's moving in though. It's going to bombard here. Crossfire's forces quite aggressively. Storm Punch then for Scotch after all. Again, makes sense, I guess. The Storm Punch here is quite good as infantry support weapons, and a well-handled one can absolutely leave an opponent reeling with the losses it can inflict. Now, South Section 40 in the centre, they German positions are being pummeled here as the centre once more stops by. Not fatigue. Pack 40 fires away though. Web Sec Pack 40 gets a hit down the centre. We'll have to see what Ruby's planning next. Oops. No sign of hammer or anvil tactics. And still no commander choice here for Crossfire. Gundy's almost right here with the double mortar emplacements here. They can lay down some pretty intensively fine, of course, are tough to deal with due to the brace structure ability, which can absorb quite a bit of damage for a fair amount of time. It actually used to be even longer and it was able to absorb more damage, which was quite frankly utterly awful. I mean, it still is, but it was just even more awful back then. Storm Panzer out here for Scotch, and you need pin them on an MG42. Lots of smoke here on the calf point. Could be a attempted British push, except one section there is so far pinned down to the ground, begging for sweet relief. And the center strikes here. Like an uninvited guest at a wedding. Firing off sharp, drunken remarks. Pushing back the Vickers machine gun there. Firefly here for Ruby. In the center, Sam's ground the point here. Up north, the jumps and the advances again. And we got another sort of large push for Crossfire. Has gone for Overwatch. Probably just for the sector assault, maybe the howitzer. Again, like, people would just go for this commander simply for the sector assault because it's just that good. Anti-tanks are firing at the Panther 4. One shoot hits, one misses. Firefly halfway down there for Ruby. Got the Scots firing away. There's sandbags vanishing before the Germans' eyes. And the Southeast Storm Panther running forward, backed up the armored car. 6-pounder gun there is in some deep, deep trouble here. As the Storm Panzer arrives. Northeast German troops push back here as once more Deep Dark Fantasy puts up some pretty aggressive defense with the Pathfinders. Scotch near tank. There you go. Unleashing the P-47s here. Crossfire's Panther 4 there is sent packing. Perhaps no reaction. I mean, you know, unleashing that much air power against a single Panther 4. Then again, it is the Americans. And for the Americans, there's no such thing as overkill at times in the Second World War. Something the Germans would at times exploit, like, presenting a single target, baiting in American artillery, and then just having them waste artillery as the target retreated before the artillery struck. So, Schwerpunkt being hammered the anti-tank guns. A good push here by Deep Dark Fancy. Could lead Crossfire without the need to bring in more tanks or Darden. And could also make him, have to go for a King Tiger there. Well, Megan was playing already. I guess it doesn't matter. But a good push here by Deep Dark Fancy. Of course, all just means the car point is now wide open. Up north here, we've got artillery called in. We've got specifically the sector assault here. He returns the favour this time though with the power of the Luftwaffe. Of course, sneaking around for the centre, which is really good at shooting down aircraft. There you go. One always shot down. In fact, that was, I think, 2 shot out of the skies there. So the Luftwaffe finds its wings very quickly clipped. Sturmpanzer versus the Firefly here. I think that is a fairly lopsided engagement. The actual war, the Sturmpanzer, if we get within range of a Firefly safely, probably could do some heavy damage to it, honestly, but endgame, not so much. Schwerpunkt somehow survives, though. That's a really close call there for Crossfire. We also got a lot of artillery fire there raining down all the place. We got the anti-tank seized by Crossfire's men. A dashing move there. As for Scotch, I'm guessing a Panther next. Pack 4 Davis University knocking out in the south. They're going to flank up behind the section here. And loading a ton of German firepower here. Both mortar emplacements are braced at the moment for some kind of impact. Or tea time. Alright, chaps, tea time. But shouldn't we be fine? No, yeah, we'll just brace. We'll say to High Command, we're under attack by the Germans. And I suppose you could say we are. We're just having tea. And biscuits. German biscuits. Anyways, Centaur, they almost knocked out, down to 1/3 of its health total. Blitz flanking in there, going for that 6-pounder gun. White could try and destroy it with a pack, so of course go for the Firefly. That set needs to be careful with mortar placement. On a car knocked out. Great kill here for Ruby. And what I've got going back here, we got a Jackson on the way there for Deep Dark Fancy. We got Amble Tactics here for Ruby. Got the heavy barrage there also ready now. Mechanized, reckon here for Crossfire, Sturm Pioneer, hard to work fixing up that Schwerpunkt quarters. Also got the opposite, hard to work here against Deep Dark Fence. We've got the Scots blasting away there. Veterans one on both, one in fact very close to VT2. And there you go, got the anti-tank being caught here by the Pathfinders. Deep Dark Fancy quickly lunges after it, looking to get a wipe there, but falls short. He's also floating an immense amount of munitions. But it's also spotted just saying all the munitions for the P-47 rocket strafes. And that is obviously a strategy. That does mean for large periods of time a lot of munitions are just doing nothing. I mean, imagine just upgrade the Pathfinder with a bunch of bars. He would obviously, I think, have a much bigger impact for much more consistently against his German opponents. And probably still have munitions to spare for the P-47s. But there you go, Panther on the way to the Scotch. Got a land matches out here for Ruby, so that's 2 mortar placements with 2 mortar tubes and a land matches. Ruby's got a lot of artillery. That's for sure. Got the Upton Fox pushing against Deep Dark Fancy of North Pathfinders there. Found themselves being scattered here under the spearhead of this German infantry assault here from Crossfire. The Panther 4 could of course be joining, but it's remaining reserved so far. Scots blasting away the anti-tank and they're ready as well here in the centre. Bit of a standoff here. We got the Sturmpanzer ready. And we got the Panther moving to the front line as well here for Scotch and for Deutschland. 5th covers the Dundees here. Quickly dispatching those with all utmost haste. Almost got one of the Scots here. Once more though, Deep Dark Fancy is able to pull them back to safety. Panther with 45 kills. Veterans one in the south here though. Scotch moves ahead here for Deutschland. The Sturmpanzer. The Panther backed up by multiple anti-tank guns. And a mistake here by Ruby. The Sturm anti-tank being caught here by the Sturmpanzer is a great kill here for Scotch. He's going to quickly put that on its misery. Still there's the mortar emplacement and the land matches that need to be dealt with here. Section almost wiped by the Sturmpanzer. Got 4 kills, 5 kills. Close Veterans 1 there. Almost wiped another unit here. And we got another Scott here for Deep Dark Fantasy on top of the Jackson. That's triple Scots here. For Deep Dark Fantasy. Back here, reinforcing healing, Panther repairs again in the south here. The fun continues. We've got the commanders that are creating forts here. Not fully reinforced, they didn't have time for that. Lots of mortar in this fault continues here around the centre. Bet you two above mortar emplacements here. A bit surprised they didn't go for the heavy mortar bombs there. Didn't need them clearly. Got a wipe there on Crossfire. Snuffed that one as full continuity squads entirely by the looks of it. Or perhaps one man survived, I don't know. But he's clearly going for the Koenigsegg next to the Tiger 2 here. Got the anti-tank and they're crewed up once more, but it's taking intense fire here from the Americans. The power fund, in fact, will just clear up the anti-tank gun more or less immediately. And destroying it. And we got still close air support. The Luftwaffe is definitely getting pretty active here. Not quite onto an even Bodenplatte, which is against Allied airfields itself, but you know, that is some pretty intense air support. The base got lined up here with the still close air support and the sector assault. And now with the center gone, I mean, there's going to be nothing to shoot down all these fighters here from the Germans. They could actually become a problem for the Allies. Look, it's aircraft! They're German! Wait, what? I thought the Luftwaffe was a myth! Nope, apparently not. And there you go, Jackson caught. In fact, now we got Crossfire with his own air support. The Luftwaffe is going nuts! It's getting vengeance for all those cruel jokes. True vengeance. Except they can't really see anything, so they can't target anything. Mostly anyways. Farfly getting hammered infantry, but whoops, getting caught as well there. A brutal, punishing air raid here by the Luftwaffe against the Allies. Brutal stuff there, brutal. Sent out for Ruby because they're gonna need anti-aircraft guns. They are absolutely gonna need it. First one was swapped out. We got losses then inflicted here on Deep Dark Fantasy support when they're cleared out. They still got all their Pathfinders. Almost got the mortar emplacement too and the land matches. The Germans collected full up and destroyed. We do have a King Tiger on the hand. The Crossfire's also suffered fairly heavy losses. Down just one orb, 2 of us support the folks in the Sturmpioneer, but we do of course have now the King Tiger, the Königstiger. Commanders are going to see more mortar fire rain down. They could threaten to wipe out Scotch's force if he's not careful. So could the Scots. Scots could hurt Scotch. Try saying that 10 times fast because I'm not. Section of the gun that you see. Almost ace level on both mortar emplacement. We got air support now from Deep Dark Fantasy. Of course, crucially, the Germans don't have a lot of anti-aircraft support themselves, except the Schwer counter quarters. And I guess all the pinwheel machines are not exactly great against aircraft. They get the job kind of there. Go Koenigsegg hammered here by the United States Air Force. Jackson rushing forwards here. Like at this point, like the only one who doesn't have air support is Ruby. Kind of standing out there a bit. Like a somewhat sore thumb. On 67 to 38, the Allies do need something about those victory points. I'm surprised they hadn't actually done more in a sense. I think Ruby's been playing perhaps a bit too static, like too much necessarily, which doesn't exactly help them seize victory points. I definitely think needs to be changed about Ruby tactically, strategically, to some degree. King Tiger move once more here, equipped with a high velocity hitting gun, Kampfwagenkanone 43. Basically the same gun as used by the Elephant, the Jagdpanzer, and the Pak 43. Jagdpanthers, but not Jagdpanzer. That was pretty much no tank that gun couldn't penetrate in the war. Scott's flying away there. South here we got a deep flank being lined up here by Scott. He's going for a second Panther bar, right? He's also got another super close support ready. Second Panther ready here for Scotch. 10 kill slots, 22 going to bombard here. Bombarding the Sapper, 6 Panagon going ready here. Also an M1. It is an M1 actually seized here by Ruby. Up north there, you can see there, Deep Dark Fantasy quickly backing off in the face of German threats here. In the south, Scotch been forced there, goes into the Firefly here. Panther will take it out to Jump Panzer's drawing a lot of fire here, a lot of attention packs on the flank here. Could see here, Ruby's Firefly got flames here. Almost got it. Got it. That's a definite blow there to Ruby, who now just one enter to stop, you know, multiple heavy armor elements here from Scotch. And of course they lose the center, they ultimately wander into the Luftwaffe. North here we got the Scots moving the center, of course, getting ready again. Grabbing the center north here away from the Germans. Down to 100 over to 338 here for the Germans. Panther backing off here for Scotch. Center was the Grenadiers there, in the center there British forces basically. And we got the triple Scots is looking to slaughter any German infantry, but it's not quite landing any hits there. Fortunately for the German infantry, less fortunate here for Deep Dark Fantasy and for Ruby. Stuttgart's the first of a Crossfire. King Tiger wants to move, worth noting. No pin mounted MG42 here for it. Guess he really wants to have all the minutes he can here for the air support. Also got some of the Pathfinders equipped with bazookas. In fact, he's equipping most of them bazookas, so he ends up upgrading the Pathfinders, but not with bars, which is what I'd expected, but with bazookas. Well, I mean, that clearly shows the German armor is a significant concern here upon Deep Dark Fantasy's mind. That's it. It's only going to make them more vulnerable to the Obersoldaten, who are definitely looking pretty mean at this point. Another land match barrage here. German position getting pummeled. Up north, you can see the Crossfires lining up to the flank here around Deep Dark Fantasy's northern flank. We got the Jacksons, the King Tiger, shots punching through the frontal armor. Yeah, that's going to be a deep flank here from Crossfire. Thumbs up, could be supported here by his teammate calling an air support there with the Stuklers air support. And lining up for zone 6 to supply away the really nice flank here by Crossfire. Got the Blitzkrieg assault there to increase the rate of frontal movement. But ultimately doesn't quite do as much damage as he imagined he would have liked to have done. Doesn't quite have the ability to follow up on it either. But you know, nice idea there, nice idea. The execution just fell a bit short there. Victory points wise, the Allies I think are starting to get a bit better control there. Grab the MD42 there from the Germans. Was that the Vickers they got back? No, it's the Vickers. Alright lads, good work. We got it back from the Germans. What? Vickers? Wait, we fought all that for the bloody machine gun. Couldn't we just call another one in? Have you seen the economy of the British Empire? We can't afford that. Oh. Sturmpanzer move here. We got another Jackson there for Deep Dark Fantasy. As for Ruby, I'm guessing a Churchill tank next. Now let's back to being out the German Sturmpanzer move here for Scotch. North holding up, we got the Ops on the move here, we got the Panther on the move as well here, near ace level on that one. Oh, ace level, that's in 3. Orbital Commanders, tanks, obviously a bit more to go. And we got tactical movement here for Scotch, 2 thumbs up. A true Blitzkrieg-ish thing there. Plenty of mines, though clearly Ruby has seen this day coming and is ready to absorb the German assault somewhat. Section being absolutely demolished here. As Scotch releases a firestorm there, firepower. Things like exploding, the guns being hit here. We got air support called in there. We can see Scotch is going forwards here for Deutschland. Shoot the English, murder them all. Deutschland vorwärts. Panther knocked out there. Great kill for the Allies, but the damage inflicted in the center is down. And we got more air support, of course, for the center. Gone. The Luftwaffe can once more rule the skies. Like really, really nasty predatory eagles with guns. And there we go. It's just unleashing hell upon the Allies. The Germans are definitely taking some losses. Scotch is bearing the brunt of them, I would say. But they are definitely hurting the Allies too. King Tiger was the Jackson. The Luftwaffe to finish off the Jackson tank to do more damage to the Königssieger. No munitions now here for the P-47s. The Pathfinders are busy elsewhere. It is a utterly cataclysmic battle here between these 4 players. Heavy bazooka fire on the Panther 4 there. He is on the offensive. Jackson gets another hit on the Panther 4 there. And we got a Firefly out there for Ruby after all. No Churchill tanks here. more support unleashed here by the Luftwaffe. King Tiger backing off in the face of this wall of anti-tank fire. We even got paratroops, not even Ruby. Bazooka fire flying off like madmen there. The King Tiger, there go. Concussive grenade stops the Pathfinders in their tracks, preventing them from seeing the King Tiger more. We got Pax on the flank here, pushing back the Jackson, and it's getting stuck here on the terrain. Firefly need better support in the south. Another push of the point is being held up by German infantry. Jackson being repaired here under arduous, well, environment, and the commandos are being stopped here by a wall of gun fire. Smoke quickly deployed here to cover up the retrograde movement. Pushing from the northern victory points. We got a machine gun covering up here. An MG42 which has ended up in the hands of Crossfire. And we got more rocket fire from the land matches, but it's just hitting nothing. Instead, kicking up an awful lot of snow here in the south here. Firefly pointlessly flying away there. We got 75 points off the 296 for the Germans. Mortar there, raining against the machine gun. The Pathfinders move here. Going straight for that MG34 here. And forcing it away. Got a lot of armor in need of repairs here. And Scotch is in need of replacements. I mean, lost a Sturmpanzer and a Panther, though he can't go for a replacement Panther there. And crucially still has another Panther operable. But the Deep Dark Fantasy start by now suffered fairly heavy losses. He hasn't upgraded his paratroopers. He's probably again setting up for the P-47s at this stage. As for Ruby, what they're planning is unclear, I think. Unclear. They're going to need, I think, more anti-tank guns, though. Koenigsegg on the move here. Pathfinders want to get the Scots blasting away there, but may not be enough here to save those very, very unlucky Pathfinders who got met with the full fury of the Third Reich. 6-pounder gun there for Ruby, as expected. As for Deep Dark Fancy, what could he be scheming? I don't know, but not be surprised he's some anti-tank guns. And some more infantry. I mean, he's got next to nothing left now. And there you go, takes out one of the Scots. Poor setup to repairs there by Deep Dark Fancy. Clearly not expecting here Crossfire to get so aggressive. And there you go, Panther 4 and the King Tiger in the offense. Could see a Firefly here knocked out. Another one goes up in flames. Here's the King Tiger and the Panther 4 inflict heavy and punishing blows here upon the Allies. And there you go, calling in the US Air Force once more, looking to desperately throw back Crossfire here. And the Germans. King Tiger does back off here. Rockets scream through the skies as they look to silence this Germanic steel beast. Doing a fair amount of damage, in fact. We got Stuka's first strike here to stop the Allied infantry pursuit. Jackson moving in here. Going for that King Tiger. Deep Dark Fancy wants his death, but there you go. Pax on the flank there, exposes it and forces a retreat. Another Scot there for Deep Dark Fancy, for Ruby. Yeah, I don't know what they're scheming either. Looking pretty rough here for the Allies. I mean, they have definitely done some damage to the Germans. It's just clearly not enough, I think, at this stage at least. Sappers pushed back in by the Grenadiers. Back to armor repairs here for Crossfire with another Panther on the way. The orbs on there's got 17 and 34 kills. And we got Scotch's Panther formation in the move once more. A half-strength Panther platoon, if you will. Jackson being fixed up. Land matches unleashing hell once more on the German positions. At least attempting to unleash hell, but so far continues to not quite land anything significant. I mean, it's doing damage, obviously, but it's never really killing anything. So there's a bit of a limit to how much utility Ruby is actually gaining from that land matches so far. Got 54s to an 81. The Allies need to, I think, do something pretty drastic here. Get very lucky, I think, to turn this around. There you go. Panther number northwards. Looks like we could be seeing a combined armor blow here from Scotch and Crossfire against Deep Dark Fancy. The Panther's diving in here pretty boldly here. Panther's nearby. Saves the Scotch. Actually, fairly impressively there. That's a pretty tough call to make there, since, of course, this time you just hand the opponent possibly like a piece of armor, but right there, he actually managed to like save the crew right before it blew up. That is fairly impressive. Thumbs up there to Deep Dark Fancy. Meanwhile, the Luftwaffe is once more on the prowl. And he's rushing forward here. Again, another tactical movement here from Scotch. Another strong maneuver push here by Scotch. Really nice use of tactical movement there. Set's been caught with a machine gun, which doesn't matter. But there you go, King Tiger the flank here, got 19 kills. Vets need to achieve their orbs on gaining the ace level with 34 kills here. And wipes machine gun crew here, another blow there to Ruby and the British. Morton placed from there, holding out Scott, almost knocked out here by German firepower from above. You got 54 to 277 here. Morton placed about to get crushed here by the German Panzerwaffe. As Scotch has had enough of it. And there you go. Jackson here sneaks in a hit in a halfway to Vexing 3. The Germans push almost to the Scot. It's almost done here for Deep Dark Fancy, not for Scotch. Orbs on their push back. A narrow defense here. Commanders with 20 kills and ace level. Crewing the Morton. Oh, the land matches, not the Morton place. That's gone. You got bazookas lying about here. Panther push back with the anti-tank gun. The Allies are frantically and desperately fighting here against the Germans. But the Germans at this point are just hammering them down. We actually lost an Orbison squad here. I mean, Crossfire's got an extra infantry. Really should consider some replacements there. As for Scotch, I don't know. I'm guessing just War Panthers. Firefly again for Ruby. Storm Panzer for Scotch. I mean, that makes sense. You could also just go for the command tank, honestly. I think that would be a pretty good addition there, honestly. But oh well. Panther 4, they need easily rushing forwards here for Crossfire straight into the Pathfinder prepared, and of course the vehicle crews who are now being committed as apparently they can't find any spare vehicles for them. Which was in fact something that happened in the German army, with increasing frequency when the war went on, like an entire formation of tank crews fighting as infantry. Fun fact. Panther already here for Crossfire. Jackson again in the ace level. But they've set, we again have the Germans in the offense here. King Tiger slowly pushing in through. We've got the Firefly coming up here. Could support here, Mr. Scotch, but he's clearly too far away there. Could get some air support in for Crossfire, no spend munitions, so can't. Panther 4, they're knocked out. Small win there for the Allies. We've got Scotch there getting his armour formation ready to strike at the yards and south. The victory from sees normal being claimed as well there. Lots of artillery fire here, lots of explosion. Most of the trainers just at this point being utterly mauled by all the rockets and whatnot. Panther pushing forwards here. Commanders forced to retreat in the face of this armour fist here unleashed by Scotch. Gonna flank right into Deep Dark Fancy. Ruby here from the south. Panther getting into it. Now we've got the Panther moving forward. See King Tiger. We've seen other Panther going for a deeper flank here. A strong maneuver here by the Germans in tandem here. Shattering the Allied south flank here by the looks of it. Other Panther there, eventually too. We got 3 kills on it. Up north here, Panther falling back further north. Orbs on the move here against the anti-tank and almost wiping out the crew here. 44 kills here for the right. Captain pushing forwards. Jackson Fireflies going northwards here for repairs. Fighting continues to be fairly frenetic, and for the Allies also fairly desperate. The Germans are definitely looking much more confident. Stuka switch fires away another barrage here. Getting some kills in here. Nothing significant, but enough to at least force Deep Dark Fancy withdraw further units in the south here. We got the Sturmpanzer entering the base, hitting a miners, going for the medics. Good lord. Paratroopers in the center here. Got Crossfire going for Jaegers and more Storm Pioneers. Interesting. And another anti-tank gun here for Deep Dark Fantasy. Got this Paratrooping more here, but they're going to do have some light machines up for them. But not enough against that many Grenadiers with that much veterancy. Got the biggest stuff in the Grenadiers here, narrowly. 35, this is 234. It's starting to look like this could be it for the Allies. I mean, they still have a lot of firepower, but they're definitely struggling to apply it aggressively enough because the Germans. Plus, the Germans just have a massive force. It's not really helping. I mean, again, they could possibly pull it off here. Like, if the Germans are extended thin enough, the Allies could, like, you know, beat all the forces separately and, like, maybe that way chew away at them, but. So far, I think the Germans are looking to make that as hard as possible to do for the Allies. There you go, Jackson caught it with the 2 Panthers. Jack's about to get, in fact, does get knocked out of the Panthers. One gets hammered here by the Chiller Rockets, and the anti-tank gun could lose that Panther, but it may also not happen. Don't need to much support. Sturm Panzer being repaired here, in fact, right behind the wreckage of a previous Sturm Panzer. That's a bit awkward. North, we've got the King Tiger move here, near Veteran Free there. Pathfinders being hammered by the Matter of the Koenigsegg. In the southeast, Scotch goes for another infantry blitz here with tactical movement. Rushing ahead here against the Allied positions, trying to outmaneuver that machine gun. Commanders nearby, those ready to swap back some of those Germans. Got the anti-tank ready in reserve here. Then these that are forced to fall back here. Ultimately, the tactical movement was not enough.
Anti-aircraft tank ready and waiting.
And we got a fresh Centaur here to once more deal with the German Luftwaffe. And, like, deep dark fans basically got a big mix of into Scots and into tank guns here. Sappers on the move here. Artillery blazing off all over the place. Jaegers and center as the advancing paratroopers. We've got the King Tiger there nearby. 10 points left. 7. Southeast Sturmpanzer bang off. 4. Going for the centre up north here. 8 level Panther 4 by here. 2 points. And GG. Game over. An absolutely brutal 2v2 here on Dreux Scout. Some fierce fighting here and there. I think in the end, partly Ruby, I think, was just too passive at times. Also failed to exploit, I think, opportunities much more efficiently. But also just lacked more infantry. And I think some weapon racks. I think had Ruby been more active, more sort of easy to exploit gaps they made by the Germans. And I think coordinated a bit better with deep dive defense of the Metrodon. I think the Allies would have had a better spot. But Ruby definitely felt a bit like a weak spot there. Similarly, Scotch at times also played too passive. Was definitely had Crossfire, deep dark fancy doing the brunt of the fighting here. That's, I think, there's also just more room for maneuver. Particularly the Allies, I think, was not very good at exploiting flanks of, you know, anything like that. The Germans, in particular, Crossfire at least did some work there. So, in this regard, the Allies, I think, was also just hurt by tunnel vision and all just less tactical flexibility. So, hope you enjoyed this match. I learned something from it. If you did, subscribe, like, share, comment on it. Tell a friend, tell a family, but don't tell enemies. This is Imperial Engaging. Cheers, and see you all tomorrow for our last episode. Bye.